Oh, welcome back to episode 10 of the Railroads Online track building tutorial. And we have got all of the logging camp built now out to the top of where the grade starts to run down the hill. And we've targeted where we put down that marker at with the switch track. And from here, we're going to build down the hill, and we're building down the hill. And the reason why we built the logging camp in first is it's easier to build a grade down a hill than it is to build up a hill, because you can keep the constant grade more easily. Now, the first thing we're going to need on here is some variable groundworks, and we'll start building out, and we need to do a transition from level, slowly going down each segment, slowly turning this corner. Oh, didn't click in, until we are at the desired grade that we want to be, which is 1.5. Now hopefully we've put that in the right spot. Now we can get rid of our marker, we don't need it anymore. Now from here we want to try and go, where did my pointer go? There it is. We want to try and go around this little ridge over to the other side and back around there, which will keep us reasonably close to the ground. Now from this point we're going to use a string line, and we're going to use constant, and we're just going to put it on the ground in front, and we're going to drop it down to 1.5. And I can already see that we've got a little bit of a problem here. We're going to be too low. So just as a test, 1.5, and no, so it's not going to be a problem there. We can get over there. Always good to double check. 1.5. Now we'll run our first piece over to here. This is basically all we're doing here, is building a string line from the groundworks to work out where a 1.5 grade meets the edge of the hill. And then we're starting to go high here now. So we'll very gently bring this around a nice big smooth curve. Just running along and putting the pieces down. And the longer we can stretch out that curve into the valley, the lower down it will get. We'll start to curve back around this way now. So we follow in a nice smooth curve. And we've done this whole lot at 1.5 down, and there we go, we're just about to head into the ground. So now, before you right click to end a spline, when you've done a big long one like this, put it up and put it down to ensure that you are actually at the grade that you put it in at. And then we'll right click that one in, and we'll go back to the top, and we'll actually run another one down over the top of it to try and make it as smooth as possible. And it doesn't actually look too bad. We may have to smooth out this corner here just a little bit. Because now that we'll be building basically at our feet instead of above our head, we'll get a better line in. can't coax the track to go around sharp corners. And I think we need to take off a little bit out of this curve as well. I think that might be a little bit too tight. So we'll come back here all the way to the start and basically repeat the process over again, building a second line down, 1.5, and we'll come just a little bit wider here. Take a little bit out of that curve. And as we come around this corner, we'll go just a little bit wider. And you can see there that the extra length of going around the wider corner has dropped the grade down sooner. This will give us enough width of groundworks to build the next step on. We'll come out just a little bit wider around this corner as well. This method that I use for building grades might seem very strange to most people, but it works and it gets you perfect track first try, and that's why I do it this way. Now the second step of the way is we're going to make what I call a guide track out of maximum length segment pieces all the way down on top of that string line we just put in. And what that does is that gives us control points at the right corner radius to be able to snap the actual groundworks, and we'll use bridgeworks because there's no z-randomization in bridgeworks, to snap the actual bridgeworks to the control point so that every piece of bridgework that goes in is at a uniform distance. So we'll start up on top of here with some track, and this track is not designed for the actual train to run on. This track is only to get control points. I'll turn on the alt lock, and our first corner will make it 15, looks about good. Snap it in there. Now, very important thing, but when you have got two changes of direction, you must have straight track between the changes of direction. And if you don't, it will cause a massive derail. And we'll go 9 back this way. You can see there we've got a wobbly straight, but it is a straight nonetheless, and I don't think 9 was enough. Well, we're still reasonably close to our target, so we'll stick with our 9. Now I want to start backing out of this corner slightly, so I'll go to 5, no 6. I want to aim towards the center down here on this corner. Back out of that a little bit more. 0. One little piece of straight. And now we'll start easing into the big swooping corner, and we'll go and come in with a 5. 7, no 8. I'm going to go a little bit wide, so I'll step it up to a 10. little bit higher, I think 14. For the rest of the corner. It's starting to come in and start to ease out back to the 10s. Ease out again, back to a 7. Continue the rest of the curve around at a 7. Getting very close to the edge. If we fall off, and we have fallen off, we need to go back up here to where we were at the tighter part of the corner and just build straight across the top again. And about here will do. Find a control point, snap to it, and snap to the next one. And there we go. Pull it out to full length. And turn into the corner. What were we up to here? This was a 10. So we will continue the 10, or step down only 1. And now our 7s should make it to the end. Track to the side, continue with our 7s. And I think we need to open that out just a little bit more. So we'll go to a 5. Now we can straighten it right out to a 0, so that we've got a straight between our changes of direction. Slowly start to bring it around the corner, around this little headland here. Five. We'll make it a 15. 3 segments, and now we'll start to back out of the corner again. So we'll come back to 10. And back it out again to a 7. Back it out again to a 4. And then we might continue the rest of the way around this corner with a 4. Probably could have gone for a 5. And I think we'll end it there because we're getting too wide. Go back up to here and find a control point and correct the line we were going on. No, I think we're too far. Need to come back one more. Find the control point, connect there, turn on the alt lock so we can see what part of the corner we were at. We were at the we were still at 10. And that was the 7. Okay, what was it telling me it'd say? 3. We obviously had a little error there. And now we can continue the rest of the way around. And we should make it down to the level area of the ground. And one more, and that'll be the end of the guide track. Now on the way back, we shall delete the extra rails. And if you actually look at the rail itself and not at the ties, you can delete the rails more easily, more precisely. And we can delete that cord, we don't need it. And we've got, well, we went offline here, we can delete these ones, just so we don't accidentally connect to their control points with the bridge work we're about to put down. And we can delete that cord. Also, walking back up the track gives us an idea of how smooth we got it to lay in, which I'm pretty happy with how smooth it is. And we can delete this first piece. Okay, now the last step in this is to use bridgeworks, and I like to use the steel bridgeworks because it doesn't have little gaps in it. The wooden bridgeworks has small gaps in it, and we start off on the end of this last 1.5 that we set up, and we set it down to 1.5, and all we do is run down the track and snap this bridgeworks to, and you've got to turn off the alt lock so that it moves freely, so it'll snap to the track, and snap it to every position along here along this track. By rights, that should now have a smooth transition from this transition onto the steel track. And we'll build this steel track all the way down to the bottom, which will give us a path that matches the smooth line that we've put in. That's why we're using this track. This track is a guide for the bridgeworks. So every segment of bridgeworks becomes the same length because we're using the control points of the track to set the length of the bridgeworks. And we don't have to worry about radius because the radius has already been worked out by the guide track. All we're worried about is getting the grade in the right place without any z-randomization. And yes, it's very, very hard with the bridgeworks to try and get equal length segments. To be able to keep a constant grade and a constant curve. And by doing it this way, it ensures that both happen. Which the end result is the track that we finish up and build on top of the steel bridgeworks becomes a very good constant grade with no z-randomization and nice smooth curves. It is a long drawn out process to do it, but since they've added the z-randomization into the game, you had to work out ways to get around it. And this is one of the ways that you can get around it. Okay, and there we go, we're down to the bottom. And before we end it, lift it up a couple, drop it down, make sure that none of the funnies that happen when you're placing bridgeworks are there. And it's best to be up one, down one, and you can see it's actually changed the position of where that sat at. And now we can right click and put it in. And the last step, as we work our way back, we need to delete all the rail back off the top because we don't need the guide track anymore, because the guide track was only to get the steel bridge in the right place. And we don't need any of the groundwork anymore, because the groundwork was only to get the guide track into the right place. So I'll finish off the rest of this on camera, and when we come back at the next episode, we will be ready to build the actual finish track down on top of this steel bridgeworks, which it's nice and easy to do because you can line up the ties evenly to each side of the steel bridge. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.